Hotels are strange places, aren't they? Every room looks identical, yet somehow feels different. As if each one remembers who stayed last. You check in, unpack, sleep, and leave. But something of you always lingers. The warmth on the pillow, the sound of your name whispered in the sheets. Welcome to Tales Atelier, where memories linger longer than the guests who made them.
Have you ever met someone whose job didn't exist? The Dimora Hotel wasn't remarkable. Beige hallways, humming vents, an air freshener trying too hard to smell like lemon. I was there for work, one of those stretches of travel where rooms blur together. The clerk smiled, polite and hollow. "Quiet week," she said. "You'll sleep well here." She was half right. I slept, but something else woke me. The first night was uneventful. A vending machine dinner, muted TV light, the sigh of the air unit kicking on and off. But on the second night, I woke to 3 knocks. I checked my phone. 11 p.m. sharp. When I opened the door, a man in a navy suit stood there, clipboard in hand. His smile was soft, practiced, like he'd rehearsed it in front of a mirror.
"Good evening, sir. Is everything to your satisfaction?"
The words came smooth, almost melodic, as if he'd said them hundreds of times before. I mumbled something. "Yes, fine, thank you," and shut the door, still half asleep. When I looked through the peephole a moment later, the hallway was empty. No footsteps, no elevator hum, just silence that felt too deliberate to be real. Morning arrived, gray and heavy. Overburnt coffee. I asked the front desk about him. "The night manager?" The clerk repeated, blinking. "We don't have one of those." Tall man, navy suit, clipboard. I pressed. She hesitated, like she was afraid to think too hard. "No one like that works nights." Her voice had the same rehearsed calm as his. I told myself it didn't matter. Long week, tired brain. Still, I caught myself checking the time that night. 10:59. The silence was so complete I could hear my pulse. Then, 3 soft, polite knocks. Exactly the same rhythm. When I opened the door, the same man stood there, empty hands now, no clipboard. His smile didn't change.
"Evening, sir. Is everything to your satisfaction?"
I stared at him. His tie was the same dark navy as his suit, his hair slicked immaculately back. "Yes," I said finally. "All good." He nodded once, almost grateful. Then he turned away. Silent footsteps, slow retreat, until the hallway light flickered and steadied again. When I leaned out to look, he was gone. By morning, my nerves were tight. I asked again at reception, described his face, his exact words. They laughed awkwardly. "Sir, we only run with day staff right now." "Night manager. We haven't had one since last winter." I felt the air in my chest freeze. Then who knocks on my door? The clerk's smile faltered. "Maybe don't answer next time." That night I tried not to look at the clock, but the numbers drew my eyes anyway. 10:59. 11 o'clock. The knock came right on cue. I didn't move, didn't breathe. When I finally checked the peephole, no one was there. Only the faint smell of cologne, still fresh, as if the air itself had been wearing him. My phone buzzed. Unknown caller. 11 p.m. sharp. I answered. At first, just quiet breathing. Then a familiar voice. Calm, cordial, close.
"Is everything to your satisfaction?"
I dropped the phone. The line kept humming from the floor. Not static, not a dial tone, just that voice frozen mid-breath. The next morning, I found something new hanging on my doorknob. It wasn't a do not disturb sign. The tag was plain white, inked in tidy handwriting. Checked at 11 p.m. And beneath it, in faint blue pen, still staying. I stared at it until the hallway lights flickered once. Then I took it off, folded it in half, and locked the door twice. Would you stay another night if you weren't supposed to be there? I tried to move through the morning like everything was normal. Coffee, laptop, emails. But every hour, I caught myself glancing at the clock, waiting for it to hit 11 o'clock. Down in the lobby, the same scent of cologne drifted through the air. It wasn't strong, but it was familiar. Sharp, clean, out of place. No one else seemed to notice. At the front desk, I asked about checking out early. The clerk smiled, the way people do when they're not really listening. "Oh, you've already been extended. Through the weekend," she said. "I didn't ask for that," I told her. She turned the monitor so I could see my name, my room number, and a small line beneath it. "Stay authorized," confirmed by night manager. My heart stuttered. "Who signed that?" She frowned, clicking through screens. "It's automated. I don't have the access to see that level." Her tone changed, lighter, like she wanted me gone. I didn't press further. I just nodded, thanked her, and walked out of the lobby. The elevator doors closed behind me like a whisper sealing shut. That evening I decided to look for him. Not out of bravery, more like desperation. The hotel corridors felt longer now. Each one looked identical, lined with mirrors and muted wallpaper. Some doors had tags that read, "Do not disturb." Others were blank, perfectly centered like props. Halfway down the hall, I saw a housekeeping cart. On it a clipboard, my name was written there. There were pages beneath mine, dozens. Each entry listed a guest, a room number, and one recurring note beside the name. Still staying. Some dates stretched back months. The handwriting was the same on every page. When I turned to take the clipboard to the lobby, I realized the cart I'd found it on wasn't there anymore. Only faint wheel tracks marked the carpet. The lobby was empty when I got there, no staff, no music. Just the ring of a phone somewhere behind the counter, repeating every 15 seconds like a heartbeat. I leaned over the desk and saw a monitor glowing with a list of calls. Every single one labeled Room 509. That was my room. The phone stopped ringing, then it started again. I picked up the receiver. Static hissed in my ear, soft and rhythmic. Then, that same voice, calm, polite, too familiar.
Is everything to your satisfaction?
My hand went numb. Who are you? The voice didn't hesitate.
I am verifying guest status.
Then silence. A single click, and a final whisper.
Still staying.
The line went dead, but the sound stayed in the room. The air felt thinner, like the lobby was holding its breath. I stepped back, phone still in hand, when something moved in the elevator reflection. A tall figure. Navy suit, hands folded neatly. I spun around. Nothing there. But in the reflection, he stayed, smiling faintly, head tilting just enough to suggest he could see me too. Then the elevator doors slid open on their own. Inside, A clipboard rested against the mirror. It wasn't the same one. Newer, cleaner. On it, one single line written in neat blue ink. 11 o'clock tonight. Confirmation required. I grabbed it and stepped back, heart pounding. The elevator doors began to close. For a second, I thought I saw him standing inside, smiling like a man who'd already checked me in. Back in my room, I locked the door and shoved a chair under the handle. The city outside was still alive. Traffic, laughter, rain, but none of it reached me here. On the desk lay the clipboard, still cold to the touch. The handwriting shimmered faintly under the lamp. At the bottom of the page, new words appeared, letter by letter. Checked, 11 o'clock. And then, beneath it,
Still staying.
what happens if you finally stop answering? I didn't leave my room the next morning. The chair stayed jammed beneath the handle, my suitcase half packed. I told myself I'd wait until daylight, call a cab, and leave without looking back. But the hours blurred. The air grew stale. The digital clock blinked between 10:58 and 10:59, refusing to move forward. Then came the first knock. My breath caught. 3 precise taps, soft but deliberate. I didn't answer, didn't move. The knocks came again. Same rhythm, same pause, polite as ever. A voice followed, calm through the door.
Is everything to your satisfaction?
It wasn't a question this time. It sounded like a reminder. The temperature dropped enough for my breath to fog. I backed toward the window. My suitcase brushed the table, knocking the clipboard to the floor. New writing had appeared on the page. Guest review pending. The words were fresh, wet with blue ink. The knocks stopped. Silence pressed against the room. Then the phone rang. I let it ring 5 times before picking up. No voice, just breathing. Slow, synchronized with mine. I slammed the phone down and grabbed my bag. The lights flickered once, steadying on a dim amber glow. The hallway beyond the peephole looked deserted. When I stepped outside, the air changed, thicker, almost damp. Every door had a "Do Not Disturb" tag, swinging gently as if brushed by the same invisible hand. I didn't stop walking. Not this time. At the elevator, the panel lights were reversed again, floor numbers counting backward. I pressed the lobby button. Nothing. The doors slid shut by themselves, sealing me inside with my reflection. In the glass, another figure stood just behind me. Navy suit, no reflection for his eyes.
Is everything to your satisfaction?
He whispered. The doors opened on their own. The lobby looked warped, stretched by shadow and dim light. Every exit was chained. The windows reflected daylight that didn't belong to this hour. The front desk phone rang. I answered before I could think. What the hell do you want from me? Static answered, then words so soft they felt printed on air.
Guests must complete their stay.
The line went dead. I ran for the service hall. Every step echoed like it belonged to someone else. Behind me, a polite voice followed, repeating the same phrase, closer each time.
Sir, please remain on the premises.
The hallway bent where it shouldn't, doubling back toward the elevators. At the end, a single sign glowed faintly. Stairs. I took it. The stairwells spiraled endlessly downward. Each landing looked the same. beige walls, flickering light. My footsteps turned into echoes that didn't match my rhythm. Then, finally, a door marked lobby exit. I pushed. It opened and stumbled into the cold night air. The street outside buzzed with life, traffic, rain, real sound. I didn't look back. I ran until my legs gave out. When I turned, the Dimora looked empty. Windows black, sign unlit, no movement behind the glass. I caught a cab at the next corner. The driver glanced at my torn sleeve, said nothing.
Hotel Dimora, right?
He asked casually.
Closed years ago, man.
Not a hint of surprise in his voice. I didn't argue, just nodded, staring out into the city that felt too alive to trust. At the ER, the nurse cleaned the cuts on my hands and asked what happened. I told her I fell. She smiled faintly. Happens to travelers all the time. When she handed me my belongings, something slipped out of my jacket pocket. A folded note I didn't recognize. In the same blue ink, neat and polite.
Thank you for staying. Satisfaction pending.
I left it there, though I can already feel the weight of it, following me for the rest of my life.
Hey, thanks for being here. We're just starting out at Tales Atelier, and every little bit of support helps. And your time means everything. A like or a subscribe helps us grow, and is highly appreciated. Okay, back to the story.
By the time she reached the hotel lobby, her body felt like it had been filled with sand. 6 hours folded into a cramped plane seat, 2 more waiting on the tarmac, and a cab that reeked of stale coffee had ground her down to nerves and bone. The air here was too clean, too bright, the marble gleaming like wet ice. She wanted a shower, a bed, and silence. Instead, she got chandeliers, gold trim, and the kind of stillness that hummed beneath the surface, waiting to crack. The clerk smiled before she even spoke. He was young, too polished, a person carved into customer service shape. His fingers fluttered across the keyboard with mechanical grace. Room 1810, he said, sliding a keycard forward with practiced calm. Your luggage will be delivered shortly. She blinked, the words too slick to question. It's not here yet. He only smiled wider. Just a few minutes. His voice had that softness people use when they know you won't sleep anyway. She didn't argue. Words were heavy things, and she'd spent them all hours ago. The elevator mirrored her from every direction. 8 versions of exhaustion watching themselves. Her reflection looked delayed, a split second behind the movement. On the 18th floor, the hall stretched too long. Identical doors receding like a pattern that looped. The air smelled faintly of detergent and something sweeter, like flowers long dead. Her shoes made no sound on the carpet. Room 1810 opened with a soft click. The space was immaculate. Corners sharp, bedding precise, a television screen looping the hotel's logo in perfect politeness. She let the door close behind her and dropped onto the bed without taking off her shoes. The sheets were too crisp, too clean. She stared at the ceiling, waiting for the knock that meant her suitcase had caught up. Minutes blurred into an hour. The hum of the air conditioner pretended to be company. When the phone finally rang, she lunged for it like a lifeline. It's room 1810, she said. My bag still isn't here. The voice on the other end was smooth, almost musical. I'll follow up with housekeeping right away, ma'am. The call ended. The silence that followed pressed close, heavy and artificial. The artwork on the walls stared back at her. Prints of landscapes that didn't exist. The air smelled faintly like static. Somewhere above, a pipe groaned softly, like something turning in its sleep. By the second hour, her exhaustion had soured into anger. She shoved herself up from the bed, padded down the hallway barefoot. The marble in the lobby bit cold against her skin. "I checked in 2 hours ago," she snapped. "Where's my bag?" The clerk's expression flickered, only slightly, then reset. "We're working on locating it." "Locating," she echoed. "It was right beside me." His smile didn't falter. "It will be sent up as soon as possible." His words sounded memorized, like a line rehearsed for 1,000 guests. She opened her mouth to argue, but the fatigue dragged her back. "Fine," she muttered. "Just send it up." She turned toward the elevator, feeling his gaze linger. Not on her, but on the empty space just behind her shoulder. When she looked back, he was already typing again, posture flawless. The elevator doors closed around her reflection. For a heartbeat, her image stayed behind, still watching him. Nearly 3 hours later, the knock came. Sharp, quick, a sound that startled her upright. She yanked the door open to find a bellhop standing there, panting slightly, gripping the suitcase like it weighed far more than clothes should. "Sorry for the delay," he said, eyes darting somewhere over her shoulder. She mumbled thanks, and took it from him. The handle was warm, slick with his sweat. When she set it on the bed, the wheels left faint trails in the carpet pile. She stared at the bag. Same color, same brand, same luggage tag. Except the paper hung torn, edges darkened like it had been dragged through rain. Relief fluttered weakly in her chest as she reached for the zipper. The nylon creaked under her touch. "Finally," she whispered. But when she lifted it, the weight surprised her. Heavier than she remembered, not just full, dense. Something inside pressed back, firm and unmoving, as though the contents had a pulse of their own. Her hands stilled. The hum of the air conditioner deepened, becoming something slower, steadier, like breathing. She glanced toward the door. The hallway beyond was still, too still. She could almost hear the faint click of the clerk's keyboard in her head, that perfect, meaningless rhythm. She told herself it was nothing. Fatigue, nerves, imagination. But deep down, in the place that recognizes danger before the mind does, she knew. Whatever waited inside that suitcase already belonged to her. She unzipped the baggage slowly, expecting the soft shuffle of her clothes, the smell of laundry detergent, a glimpse of home. Instead, neat stacks of men's shirts. Pale blue, pressed and starched. Beneath them, black slacks folded like they'd never been worn. Her fingers paused mid-motion, heart ticking unevenly. This wasn't hers. None of it. She dug deeper, hands trembling, pulling out unfamiliar things. Polished shoes, leather gloves, and a faint smell of cologne clinging to every inch. It didn't make sense. Bags get switched, she told herself. It happens. There was a logical reason somewhere, hiding behind the static in her head. But when she reached the bottom of the bag, her skin prickled. 2 black gloves lay folded together, fingertips curved inward, as if still gripping something. They looked used, not old. Used recently. Beneath them, a slim leather toiletry kit. Inside a comb. Its teeth were too sharp. When she ran her finger along one, it nicked her skin. She yanked her hand back, staring at the small bead of blood that formed. Her pulse quickened. Then she saw it, tucked into the side pocket, half hidden under the fabric lining. A photograph. She slid it out carefully, her hands slick with sweat. It showed 3 people on a park bench, 2 adults, and a little girl, mid-laughter, harmless, ordinary. But the longer she stared, the heavier the image felt, as though the people in it were waiting for her to remember them. She turned it over, blank. The glossy surface caught her reflection. Warped, pale, stretched. The smiles in the picture didn't fade, but something in their eyes shifted subtly, sharpening, focusing. Her chest tightened. The photograph felt alive in her hand, warm from more than her touch. She shoved it back into the pocket and zipped the bag closed. Her voice shook when she called the front desk. "This isn't my suitcase. My things are missing." A pause. Then that smooth, rehearsed tone. "We'll send someone up." "No," she said quickly. "I'll bring it down myself." She didn't want anyone touching it. Not the bellhop, not housekeeping, no one. She grabbed the handle, dragging it toward the elevator. The torn luggage tag brushed against her wrist, paper soft and frayed like aged skin. Inside the mirrored elevator, her reflection lagged again. A half-second delay that made her stomach twist. When she blinked, the copy blinked late. The floor numbers descended too slowly. The lobby was nearly empty when she reached it, light glaring off marble so polished it seemed wet. The clerk looked up before she spoke, smile already forming like muscle memory. "Room 1810, she said, pushing the baggage forward. "This isn't my bag." He leaned over the counter, scanning the torn tag, then began to type. His fingers moved slower this time, deliberate. When he looked up, his smile had changed. No longer bright, but almost kind. "Actually, ma'am," he said, "you already reported this yesterday." For a moment, the world tilted. "That's impossible," she said, voice small. He turned the monitor toward her. There it was, her name, her room number, and a timestamp, 8:41 p.m. Yesterday. Below it, a digital signature that curved in perfect imitation of her handwriting. Her chest hollowed. "I wasn't here yesterday. I flew in tonight." The clerk's tone didn't waver. "Our records say you've been with us since Tuesday." It was Wednesday. Behind her, the baggage twitched. The sound was faint, a shift, fabric brushing against itself. She turned sharply. The bag sat motionless, but the torn tag fluttered, showing a different name, not hers. When she blinked, it was blank again. "Would you like me to arrange a replacement?" the clerk asked softly. "For what?" she whispered. "For the items you've misplaced." The phrase landed like a sentence read from a script. She felt watched. From the corners, from behind the counter, from the mirrors lining the walls. Her throat felt tight. She grabbed the handle and dragged the baggage back toward the elevator. The wheels bumped unevenly across the carpet, like they were resisting her. When the doors opened, she glanced back one last time. The clerk was already greeting another guest, the same smile, the same cadence. "Welcome, room 1810. Your luggage will be delivered shortly." But he wasn't looking at the woman. His eyes followed the bag instead. The elevator doors closed, and she stood alone with the suitcase, breath catching. The mirrored walls reflected her from every side, except one corner, where the glass showed only the suitcase, perfectly centered. She couldn't see her own face there, only the faintest pulse of movement beneath the nylon shell, like a slow exhale. Something inside shifted again, deliberate, heavy, and that was when she knew with sick certainty. Whatever was inside had finally woken up. She felt tugged in all directions while standing there inside the elevator. None of what the clerk said made sense, and before she could second-guess herself, She pushed the button to open the elevator again and marched back onto the clerk's desk. The clerk didn't blink. His smile hovered between polite and pitying as he angled the monitor toward her again. "Our records say otherwise," he said softly, tapping the screen that showed her signature. The lobby lights hummed overhead, too steady, too bright. The baggage pressed against her leg, warm now, almost pulsing. It felt less like luggage, more like a living thing that had learned her name. "I want my things back," she said, clutching the counter. "Not this. My bag." Her voice trembled, cracking at the edges. The clerk typed again, each keystroke deliberate, like counting heartbeats. Then he looked up. "We can return what you've lost," he said finally. The words unfurled like comfort, but there was something wrong in the shape of them. "Good," she breathed. "Then do it." His smile thinned. "There will be a trade." The sentence landed heavy. "What kind of trade?" she whispered. "You brought more than luggage," the clerk said, tone soft as dust. "Regrets, disappointments, the weight you've been dragging for years." Her stomach twisted. "You're insane." But he went on, unbothered. "Our hotel offers release. You came here to rest, didn't you? You wanted to let go?" His words slid under her skin like cold water. Behind him, the elevator dinged, doors opening and closing to no one. The baggage at her side vibrated, the zipper twitching like something breathing beneath it. "You gave us what you no longer wished to carry," the clerk continued. "And the bag gave you something in return." Her mouth went dry. "Someone else's things," she said slowly. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Someone else's life." The baggage shuddered once. She crouched and unzipped it before she could stop herself. A silver watch, with unfamiliar initials, a cracked wallet, a child's pink hair clip. They were not there earlier. Yet here they gleamed faintly. Waiting. "I didn't pack these," she whispered. The clerk nodded once. "No, but you'll wear them soon." She shoved the baggage forward. "Take it back." "You signed," he said simply. "I didn't." He rotated the screen again. Her name curved neatly across a digital form dated yesterday. The sight hollowed her chest. "You said you were tired," he murmured. "You said you didn't want to carry it anymore." Her voice cracked. "That's not what I meant." He looked almost sorry. "Intent doesn't matter here." Around them, the lobby froze. The woman with the magazine hadn't turned a page in minutes. The bellhop by the door stood motionless, eyes unfocused, like mannequins waiting for their cue. The air thickened, humming faintly. "What happens if I refuse?" she asked, her voice trembling. The clerk's expression softened, almost tender. "Refusal only delays the exchange. The longer you fight, the heavier it becomes." The baggage bulged, zipper stretching. A low groan escaped from inside, slow and human. The elevator dinged again behind her, doors sliding open to an empty box of light. "Return to your room," the clerk said gently. "By morning, it will be complete. You'll wake lighter." The baggage handle tugged in her grasp, pulling toward the open elevator. She resisted, but the pull was steady, insistent, like a tide. Her reflection in the polished floor looked thinner, color drained. The clerk's eyes lowered, almost reverent. "You'll rest soon," he whispered. The word rest felt final. She stumbled backward into the elevator, the baggage gliding behind her like it remembered the way. The doors closed with a sigh. The numbers flickered up the panel. 12, 15, 18. Then stopped at a floor that didn't exist. 19. The air grew dense. Her ears popped. Somewhere above, a faint ticking began. Steady, rhythmic, metallic. She realized it was the silver watch inside the suitcase, keeping perfect time, counting something down. She pressed her back to the mirror and didn't dare breathe. The light flickered once, then steadied. She looked down. The baggage sat perfectly still, humming faintly. When she reached out, the hum stopped. Silence. Then, a whisper so soft it brushed her ear rather than entered it. "Thank you." The weight in her chest eased. Her shoulders relaxed. The exhaustion she'd carried for years ebbed, like it had finally been lifted. For the first time, she felt light. Too light. The kind of lightness that comes right before something vanishes completely. The doors opened with a soft chime. The hallway beyond stretched endless and white, lined with doors that all read 1810. Her suitcase rolled forward on its own, wheels whispering against the carpet. She followed, barefoot, unthinking. In the nearest mirror, her reflection smiled first, slow, serene, and a second too early. She almost didn't notice the torn tag dangling from the handle now read a new name. Not hers. But it would be soon.